equal to x0 plus 2h, x3 equal to x0 plus 3h, etc., xn equal to x0 plus nh, the forward difference operator delta is defined on the function f of x as delta f of xi equal to f of xi plus h minus f of xi, that is equal to f of xi plus 1 minus f of xi, that is delta yi equal to yi plus 1 minus yi. Then, in particular, delta f of x0 equal to f of x0 plus h minus f of x0, that is equal to f of x1 minus f of x0. This implies delta y0 equal to y1 minus y0. Delta f of x1 equal to f of x1 plus h minus f of x1, that is equal to f of x2 minus f of x1. This implies delta y1 equal to y2 minus y1, etc. Delta y0, delta y1, etc., delta yi, etc. are known as the first forward differences. The second forward differences are defined as delta square f of xi equal to delta of delta f of xi, that is equal to delta of f of xi plus h minus f of xi, that is delta of f of xi plus h minus delta of f of xi, that is f of xi plus 2h minus f of xi plus h minus of f of xi plus h minus f of xi, that is f of xi plus 2h minus 2 times f of xi plus h plus f of xi, that is yi plus 2 minus 2yi plus 1 plus yi. In particular, delta square f of x0 equal to y2 minus 2y1 plus y0, or delta square y0 equal to y2 minus 2y1 plus y0. The third forward differences are delta cube f of xi equal to delta of delta square f of xi, that is delta of f of xi plus 2h minus 2 times f of xi plus h plus f of xi, that is yi plus 3 minus 3 times yi plus 2 plus 3 times yi plus 1 minus yi. In particular, delta cube f of x0 equal to y3 minus 3y2 plus 3y1 minus y0, or delta q y0 equal to y3 minus 3y2 plus 3y1 minus y0. In general, the nth forward difference delta raised to n f of xi equal to delta raised to n minus 1 f of xi plus h minus delta raised to n minus 1 f of xi. The differences delta y0, delta square y0, delta q y0, etc. are called the leading differences. Forward differences can be written in a tabular form as follows: x values x0, x1, x2, x3, y values y0 equal to f of x0, y1 equal to f of x1, y2, and delta square y values delta square y0 equal to delta y1 minus delta y0, delta square y1 equal to delta y2 minus delta y1, and delta q y0 equal to delta square y1 minus delta square y0. Problem: construct the forward difference table for the data x values minus 2, 0, 2, 4, and y values, that is f of x values 4, 9, 17, 22. Solution: the forward difference table is as follows: x values minus 2, 0, 2, 4, the given y values 4, 9, 17, 22, delta y values delta y0 equal to 5, delta y1 equal to 8, delta y2 equal to 5, delta square y values delta square y0 equal to 3, delta square y1 equal to minus 3, and delta q y0 value equal to minus 6. Properties of forward difference operator delta. 1. Forward difference of a constant function is 0. Proof: consider the constant function f of x equal to k. Then delta f of x equal to f of x plus h minus f of x, that is equal to k minus k, which is 0. Number 2. For the functions f of x and g of x, delta f of x plus g of x equal to delta of f of x plus delta of g of x. Proof: by definition, delta of f of x plus g of x equal to delta of f plus g of x, that is f plus g of x plus h minus f plus g of x, that is f of x plus h plus g of x plus h minus of f of x plus g of x, that is f of x plus h minus f of x plus g of x plus h minus g of x. That is delta of f of x plus delta of g of x. Number 3. Proceeding as in 2, for the constants a and b, delta of a into f of x plus b into g of x equal to a into delta of f of x plus b into delta of g of x. Number 4. Forward difference of the product of two functions is given by delta of f of x into g of x equal to f of x plus h into delta of g of x plus g of x into delta of f of x. Proof. Delta of f of x into g of x equal to delta of f into g of x, that is f into g of x plus h minus f into g of x, that is f of x plus h into g of x plus h minus f of x into g of x. Adding and subtracting f of x plus h into g of x, the above gives delta of f of x into g of x equal to f of x plus h into g of x plus h minus f of x plus h into g of x plus f of x plus h into g of x minus f of x into g of x. That is f of x plus h into g of x plus h minus g of x plus g of x into f of x plus h minus f of x. That is f of x plus h into delta of g of x plus g of x into delta of f of x. Note: adding and subtracting g of x plus h into f of x instead of f of x plus h into g of x, it can also be proved that delta of f of x into g of x equal to g of x plus h into delta of f of x plus f of x into delta of g of x. Number 5. Forward differences of the quotient of two functions is given by delta of f of x by g of x equal to g of x into delta of f of x minus f of x into delta of g of x divided by g of x plus h into g of x. Proof. Delta of f of x by g of x equal to f of x plus h by g of x plus h minus f of x by g of x. That is f of x plus h into g of x minus f of x into g of x plus h divided by g of x plus h into g of x. That is f of x plus h into g of x minus f of x into g of x plus f of x into g of x minus f of x into g of x plus h divided by g of x plus h into g of x. That is equal to g of x into f of x plus h minus f of x minus f of x into g of x plus h minus g of x divided by g of x plus h into g of x. That is equal to g of x into delta of f of x minus f of x into delta of g of x divided by g of x plus h into g of x. Problem. Show that delta log f of x equal to log of 1 plus delta f of x divided by f of x, taking the interval of differencing unity. Solution. Since the interval of difference h is taken as unity, delta log f of x equal to log of f of x plus 1 minus log of f of x. That is equal to log f of x plus 1 divided by f of x. That is log of f of x plus 1 minus f of x plus f of x divided by f of x. That is log delta f of x plus f of x divided by f of x. That is log of delta f of x by fx plus 1. That is equal to log of 1 plus delta f of x divided by f of x. Following are some results on forward differences. Result 1. The nth forward difference of a polynomial of degree n is constant when the values of the independent variable are at equal intervals. Result 2. If n is an integer, f of a plus nh equal to f of a plus nc1 delta f of a plus nc2 delta square f of a plus etc. plus delta raised to n f of a for the polynomial f of x in x. Shift operator E. For the values y0, y1, etc. yn of a function y equal to f of x corresponding to the equidistant values x0, x1, x2, etc. xn, where x1 equal to x0 plus h, x2 equal to x0 plus 2h, x3 equal to x0 plus 3h, etc. xn equal to x0 plus nh, the shift operator or displacement operator E is defined on the function f of x as E of f of xi equal to f of xi plus h, that is E of yi equal to yi plus 1. Hence, E square yi equal to E of Eyi, that is equal to E of yi plus 1, that is yi plus 2. Proceeding like this, e raised to k yi equal to yi plus k. Hence, in particular, E of y0 equal to y1, E square y0 equal to E of ey0, that is E of y1, that is y2, etc. e raised to n y0 equal to yn. Since E of f of xi minus h equal to f of xi, we have e raised to minus 1 f of xi equal to f of xi minus h, that is e raised to minus 1 yi equal to yi minus 1. Relation between e and delta. For a function f of x, we have delta f of x equal to f of x plus h minus f of x. Hence, delta f of x equal to e of f of x minus f of x, that is equal to e minus 1 of f of x. This implies delta equal to e minus 1 or e equal to delta plus 1. Properties of e. Number 1. For the functions f of x and g of x, e of f of x plus g of x equal to e of f of x plus e of g of x. Proof. By definition, e of f of x plus g of x equal to e of f plus g of x, that is f plus g of x plus h, that is f of x plus h plus g of x plus h, that is e of f of x plus e of g of x. Number 2. For a function f of x, e raised to m into e raised to n f of x equal to e raised to m plus n f of x. Proof. E raised to m of e raised to n f of x equal to e raised to m of f of x plus nh, that is equal to f of x plus nh plus mh, that is equal to f of x plus m plus n into h, that is equal to e raised to m plus n f of x. For a function f of x, delta e of f of x equal to e delta of f of x. Proof. Delta e of f of x equal to delta of f of x plus h, that is f of x plus 2h minus f of x plus h, that is e of f of x plus h minus e of f of x, that is e of f of x plus h minus f of x, that is e into delta of f of x. Backward difference operator del. For the values y0, y1, etc. yn of a function y equal to f of x, for the equidistant values x0, x1, x2, etc. xn, where x1 equal to x0 plus h, x2 equal to x0 plus 2h, x3 equal to x0 plus 3h, etc. xn equal to x0 plus nh, the backward difference operator del is defined on the function f of x as del f of xi equal to f of xi minus f of xi minus h, that is yi minus yi minus 1, which is the first backward difference. In particular, we have the first backward differences del f of x1 equal to y1 minus y0, del f of x2 equal to y2 minus y1, etc. The second backward difference is given by del square f of xi equal to del f of xi, that is equal to del of f of xi minus f of xi minus h, that is del of f of xi minus del of f of xi minus h, that is f of xi minus f of xi minus h minus of f of xi minus h minus f of xi minus 2h, that is yi minus yi minus 1 minus of yi minus 1 minus yi minus 2, that is equal to yi minus 2 yi minus 1 plus yi minus 2. Similarly, the third backward difference del cube f of xi equal to yi minus 3 yi minus 1 plus 3 yi minus 2 minus yi minus 3, and so on. Backward differences can be written in a tabular form as follows. X values x0, x1, x2, x3, y values y0 equal to f of x0, y1 equal to f of x1, y2 equal to f of x2, y3 equal to f of x3. Del y values del y1 equal to y1 minus y0, del y2 equal to y2 minus y1, del y3 equal to y3 minus y2. Del square y values del square y2 equal to del y2 minus del y1, del square y3 equal to del y3 minus del y2, and del q y value del q y3 equal to del square y3 minus del square y2. Relation between backward difference and other differences. Number 1, delta y0 equal to y1 minus y0, that is del y1. delta square y0 equal to y2 minus 2y1 plus y0, that is equal to del square y2, etc. Number 2, delta minus del equal to delta into del. Proof. Consider the function f of x. Delta f of x equal to f of x plus h minus f of x. Del f of x equal to f of x minus f of x minus h. Delta minus del of f of x equal to delta f of x minus del f of x. That is equal to f of x plus h minus f of x minus of f of x minus f of x minus h. That is delta f of x minus delta f of x minus h. That is equal to delta of f of x minus f of x minus h. That is equal to delta into del of f of x. This implies delta minus del equal to delta into del. 3. Del equal to delta into e raised to minus 1. Proof. Consider the function f of x. Del f of x equal to f of x minus f of x minus h. That is equal to delta of f of x minus h. That is delta into e raised to minus 1 of f of x. This implies del equal to delta into e raised to minus 1. Number 4. Del equal to 1 minus e inverse. Proof. Consider the function f of x. Del f of x equal to f of x minus f of x minus h. That is equal to f of x minus e inverse of f of x. That is 1 minus e inverse of f of x. This implies del equal to 1 minus e inverse. Problem. Construct the backward difference table for the data x values minus 2, 0, 2 and 4, y values, that is f of x values minus 8, 3, 1 and 12. Solution. The backward difference table is as follows. X values minus 2, 0, 2 and 4. The corresponding y values minus 8, 3, 1 and 12. Del y values, del y1 equal to 3 minus minus 8 is 11. Del y2 equal to 1 minus 3. Value 11 minus 2, that is 13. Del q y value, del q y3 equal to 13 minus minus 13, that is 26. Central difference operator delta. Central difference operator delta for a function f of x at xi is defined as delta f of xi equal to f of xi plus h by 2 minus f of xi minus h by 2, where h being the interval of differencing. Let y 1 by 2 equal to f of x0 plus h by 2, then delta y 1 by 2 equal to delta f of x0 plus h by 2, that is f of x0 plus h by 2 plus h by 2 minus f of x0 plus h by 2 minus h by 2. That is equal to f of x0 plus h minus f of x0. That is f of x1 minus f of x0, that is y1 minus y0. This implies delta y 1 by 2 equal to delta y0. Central differences can be written in a tabular form as follows. X values x0, x1, x2, x3, y values y0, y1, y2, y3, delta y values delta y 1 by 2 equal to y1 minus y0, delta y 3 by 2 equal to y2 minus y1, delta y 5 by 2 equal to y3 minus y2. Delta square y values, delta square y1 equal to delta y 3 by 2 minus delta y 1 by 2, delta square y2 equal to delta y 5 by 2 minus delta y 3 by 2, and delta q y value, delta q y 3 by 2 equal to delta square y2 minus delta square y1. Problem. Prove that delta equal to e raised to 1 by 2 minus e raised to minus 1 by 2. Proof. We have e raised to k f of x equal to f of x plus kh. Hence, e raised to 1 by 2 f of x equal to f of x plus h by 2, and e raised to minus 1 by 2 f of x equal to f of x minus h by 2. delta f of x equal to f of x plus h by 2 minus f of x minus h by 2. This implies delta f of x equal to e raised to 1 by 2 f of x minus e raised to minus 1 by 2 f of x. That is e raised to 1 by 2 minus e raised to minus 1 by 2 of f of x. This implies delta equal to e raised to 1 by 2 minus e raised to minus 1 by 2. Mean operator mu. Mean difference operator mu for a function f of x at xi is defined as mu of f of xi equal to 1 by 2 into f of xi plus h by 2 minus f of xi minus h by 2, where h being the interval of differencing. Problem 1. Prove that mu equal to 1 by 2 into e raised to 1 by 2 plus e raised to minus 1 by 2. Proof. We have mu of f of x equal to 1 by 2 into f of x plus h by 2 minus f of x minus h by 2 and e of f of x equal to f of x plus h. Hence, e raised to 1 by 2 f of x equal to f of x plus h by 2 and e raised to minus 1 by 2 f of x equal to f of x minus h by 2. So, mu of f of x equal to 1 by 2 into e raised to 1 by 2 f of x minus e raised to minus 1 by 2 f of x. This implies mu equal to 1 by 2 into e raised to 1 by 2 plus e raised to minus 1 by 2. Problem 2. Prove that mu equal to square root of 1 plus 1 by 4 into delta square. Proof. We have mu equal to 1 by 2 into e raised to 1 by 2 plus e raised to minus 1 by 2. Hence, mu square equal to 1 by 4 into e raised to 1 by 2 plus e raised to minus 1 by 2 the whole square. That is 1 by 4 into e plus e raised to minus 1 plus 2. That is equal to 1 by 4 into e raised to 1 by 2 minus e raised to minus 1 by 2 the whole square plus 4. That is 1 by 4 into delta square plus 4 because delta equal to e raised to 1 by 2 minus e raised to minus 1 by 2. This implies mu equal to square root of 1 plus 1 by 4 into delta square. Differences and derivatives. In differential calculus, the operator d equal to d by dx is defined such as d of f of x equal to d by dx of f of x, that is limit h tend to 0 f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. By Taylor's expansion, f of x plus h equal to f of x plus h into d by dx of f of x plus h square by 2 factorial d square by dx square of f of x plus etc. That is f of x plus h into d of f of x plus h square by 2 factorial into d square of f of x plus etc. That is 1 plus h into d plus h square by 2 factorial into d square plus etc. of f of x. That is e raised to h d into f of x. But in case of differences, we have for a function f of x, e of f of x equal to f of x plus h. Thus, e of f of x equal to e raised to hd of f of x. This implies e equal to e raised to hd. Now we establish some relations connecting d and finite differences. Number 1. d equal to 1 by h into delta minus delta square by 2 plus delta cube by 3 minus etc. Proof. We have e equal to e raised to hd and e equal to 1 plus delta. Then 1 plus delta equal to e raised to hd or hd equal to log of 1 plus delta to the base e. By the expansion of log, the above gives d equal to 1 by h into delta minus delta square by 2 plus delta cube by 3 minus etc. Number 2. d equal to 1 by h into del plus del square by 2 plus del cube by 3 plus etc. Proof. We have del equal to 1 minus e raised to minus 1 or e raised to minus 1 equal to 1 plus del. Since e equal to e raised to hd, e raised to minus 1 equal to e raised to minus hd. Thus, 1 plus del equal to e raised to minus hd or minus hd equal to log of 1 plus del to the base e. By the expansion of log, we get d equal to 1 by h into del plus del square by 2 plus del cube by 3 plus etc. Number 3. Delta equal to 2 sin hd divided by 2. Proof. We have sin hd divided by 2 equal to e raised to hd by 2 minus e raised to minus hd by 2 all divided by 2. That is e raised to 1 by 2 minus e raised to minus 1 by 2 divided by 2. Hence, 2 sin hd divided by 2 equal to 2 into e raised to 1 by 2 minus e raised to minus 1 by 2 by 2 that is e raised to 1 by 2 minus e raised to minus 1 by 2, that is equal to delta. Let us summarize the module. This module describes some finite difference operators. Their properties are discussed. Interrelation among various finite differences are also considered. Many relations between the finite differences considered are proved. Before concluding the session, try to answer the following questions. Question number 1. Find delta sin Ax and delta raised to n of 1 by x. Number 2. Prove that 1 plus delta into 1 minus del equal to 1. 3. Prove that e plus 1 into delta equal to 2 into e minus 1 into mu. 4. Prove that mu plus delta by 2 equal to e raised to 1 by 2. Hope you enjoyed this session. See you next time. Until then, goodbye.
This program concerns the mammalian life of the Thar Desert and especially the adaptations which the animals have acquired to sustain their existence and survival in the harsh environment of the desert. Deserts in India are spread right from Punjab to the peninsular region and also the cold desert in the Ladakh region. We are concerned in this program with the hot desert of Rajasthan and covers about 60% of the state. This desert has a number of habitats such as sand dunes, sandy hills, gravelly plains, rocks, nadis or lakes, small lakes, maybe they are ephemeral, and the village complex. Village complex is a very important habitat for mammalian existence in the region. In the Thar Desert, there are a number of habitats, the aquatic habitat, the sand dunes, the sandy plains, the rocky habitat, and the village complex, which we call the ruderal habitat. And these are very important from the point of view of mammals, because certain mammals are found in only one type of habitat and others in other type of habitat. And even in 100 millimeter zone, which is dominated by about 62% sand dunes, a small 8 gram body weight animal, the gerbil, stays and in great preponderance, about 200 per hectare. It's astonishing how it survives in a waterless, in a vegetationless zone. Very tall sand dunes are there everywhere, and the gazelle is found in fair numbers in some of the parts, especially in Jaisalmer district. This is highly adapted large mammal and can survive for its life without drinking any water. Desert is actually a grassland, and because of this grazing material, large number of mammals used to thrive. But at present, we are converting it due to human pressure into croplands, and this is disastrous. The gravel plains are commonly found in Jaisalmer district, Bikaner district, and they look like bed of the ocean. And actually, there was the Tethys Sea in this region, which receded, and the desert conditions settled in this part of India. The Thar Desert is interspersed with rocky outcrops, with euphorbia bushes, and this habitat is inhabited by a fairly large number of mammalian species, both small as well as large. This is a hedgehog. I started my research work in 1950s on this animal, and at Pilani I used to see them in dozens in the evening. But at present, it's very difficult to find even one. The alteration in the habitat have caused their diminution. A fairly good population of langurs, Presbytus antillus, is also found on the rocky habitat. These are leaf-eating monkeys and are not so mischievous as the red-faced one, Macaca mulata. Cheetah was found abundantly near Jaipur, though it was not inhabiting the core desert region, but Jordan, Sterndale, Blandford, all have mentioned that the abundance of cheetah was fairly good near Jaipur. At present, it is not found in India at all. We have exterminated it from our country. Similarly, the lion was found in southern desert near Aravallis, and at present it is restricted to Gir forest of Gujarat. Man has been very harsh on carnivores. Desert cats were quite abundant. When I used to survey the desert region in 1952, 53, 54 on camelbacks, the desert cat was the most abundant animal. At present, one of our colleagues has surveyed, and he has found only one or two desert cat in the entire desert region. They may be there, but their populations have declined immensely. The wolf is totally lost. The caracal is not found. When I was young, I have seen it near Gudha, near Nokha and Bikaner, Deshnok region. Likewise, the foxes were very common, and I remember 30 years ago, I used to see one or two behind every caparis bush. At present, their numbers, like other carnivores, has decreased immensely. The black buck is a speciality of the Thar Desert because of the Bishnoi community who regard them sacred and give protection. In earlier days, that is about 50s, I have seen 10,000 black bucks in Bishnoi village complex, and at present their numbers have reduced to 2,000 to 3,000. This is very unfortunate, but we have to face the situation as it is prevailing. The gazelles and black bucks are being replaced by nilgai. Two reasons. One is sentimental because it is considered to be a cow, so nobody kills it. Secondly, the crops are available in every region of the desert in place of grasses, that their reproductive rate has increased and they are breeding profusely, and you see nilgai everywhere, and it has become a severe pest of crops. Usually porcupine is found in rocky habitat, but we discovered a good population of about 40 animals in sandy hills of Gotaru, which is a desolate region and is an extreme desert receiving about 100 millimeter of rainfall annually. It is surprising how this large rodent is surviving in that region. Most of the mammals live in burrows. The diurnal animals, which come out during the day, dig very extensive burrows and maintain almost a constant temperature all the year round inside. In fact, they are living in air-conditioned chambers. But the nocturnal ones, which come out during night, they are not exposed to the heat, and therefore they dig only burrows which are simple, and they are not very deep like the diurnal ones, which are in 3 tiers or 4 tiers, and they go deep up to 1.5 meter in the sand. Another adaptation, the nocturnal as well as the diurnal animals also shift their diel activity to avoid the extremes of temperatures. The nocturnal rodent, Tatara indica, it shifts its diel activity to early evening during the winter, because the midnight is very cold. Whereas the diurnal Merionis hariani, the desert gerbil, during the winter, it is out of its burrow all the day, but during the summer, it divides its activity to bimodal mode, early morning and early evening. The mammals are very adjusting amongst their groups as well as between different taxon. For example, the gazelle as well as the blackbuck are found in the same herd, but the gazelle is a browsing animal and the blackbuck is a grazing animal. So the blackbucks graze on the ground, and the gazelles feed upon the shrubs. So there is no competition among them, and that's the reason why they are living a Gandhinian way of coexistence. Similarly, the bats, though they live together in caves, the microchiropterans, but they come out of the caves at 15 to 20 minute interval and fly at different altitudes. At different altitudes, they get different type of insect fauna which they feed upon, and they minimize competition amongst themselves. Rains are a special phenomenon in the desert, and they trigger the reproductive activity of the mammals, and our studies have shown that the largest number of mammals reproduce only during the monsoon season. Those which are breeding all the year round also deliver largest litters during monsoon. Because of the availability of vegetation, the survival of the young is very superior than the ones delivered during winter. The desert hare breeds all the year round, but the litters of 3 and 4 are delivered only during the monsoon period. The desert gerbil, Merionis hariani, is one of my special animals on which I have been working since 1952. This genus, Merionis, is spread from Morocco in Western Africa to Gobi Desert, and one of the species, hariani, Merionis hariani, is found in our desert, the Thar Desert, and we have been doing considerable work on this. It is the most abundant. We have found a population of about 477 animals per hectare. Their annual forage requirement is about 1044 kg per hectare, whereas the forage production is about 1400 kg per hectare. And that is the reason why I consider this gerbil as a potent competitor of livestock as well as the wild mammals. This gerbil is also a causative agent of soil erosion and leading to desertification, because on an average it has 15 burrow openings per burrow, which means that they are excavating on an average rate of 1 kilogram per burrow opening, about 61,500 kilogram of sand per kilometer square. And this much of sand, which is deposited loosely on their burrow openings, is quickly taken away by the strong desert winds. We know that scent mark is present in musk deer, but we have discovered the scent marking in the desert gerbil also, and have done extensive work on scent marking behavior of desert gerbil and other rodents in the Thar Desert. The increase in the cultivated land has diminished the grazing land. Even the sand dunes are being cropped for bajra or millet crop, and the increasing human as well as livestock population has further reduced the habitat for wild animals, wild mammals in particular, which require a lot of nourishment. At present, the main Indira Gandhi Canal is up to Jaisalmer, but as the figure shows, the water will flow throughout the desert, and ultimately the desert might disappear and be converted into irrigated croplands, and we will lose all the desert biodiversity. I have tried to prepare a map showing the conjectural march of the bandicoot, which is associated with irrigation. And we see that from southern India it has come to Punjab, and from Punjab it is now coming through the Indira Gandhi Canal cultivation regions into the Rajasthan desert, and it's a very aggressive rodent, and I am sure that in next 20 to 30 years bandicoot will become the predominant rodent in place of Merioness hariani, which has been my pre-animal. Because of the geographical location of the Thar Desert, there is an admixture of various elements, the Saharan element, the Tharian element, as well as the Oriental or the Indian element. We find that the Saharan as well as the Oriental mammals are almost equal, about 32 species and about 33 species, and 3 species have evolved in this desert, which means that this desert is not a new desert or a young desert, but it is fairly old. Particularly if we see the microendemism, which is about 20 subspecies which are found only in the Thar Desert and nowhere else in the region. Examples are there of reptiles, birds, vegetation also, which confirm this view. With my experience, I can tell that there are 2 features of the Thar Desert which are again unique in the world. One is the association between the Bishnoi community and the wildlife. The Bishnoi community protects them. Another one pertaining to the mammals is the red temple in Deshnok. But unfortunately, the population, human as well as livestock, is increasing with that fast rate, and the scenario is changing that the larger wild animals will probably vanish and smaller mammals will take their place. It is our duty and also responsibility to preserve the genetic material in the Desert Biosphere Reserve, or what is called now the Desert National Park.
The magic of turning a block of wood into a perfect symmetrical form has always fascinated us. The versatile nature of wood is manifest not only in its structural strength, but also in innumerable aesthetic forms and shapes that can be given to it, the intricate designs that can be carved on it. These exquisite pieces of wood carvings are from Saharanpur in northwest Uttar Pradesh, famous for its excellent workmanship, traditional designs, and great beauty in woodwork. It is believed that this craft has been practiced and perfected here over many centuries, dating back to the era of Mughal emperors. there are nearly 1,000 units where carved items of wood are manufactured. The people involved in this craft can be categorized depending upon the mode of work and the type of manufacturing units. Firstly, those who produce their own goods. They purchase raw material from market, prepare different products, and then sell the finished goods themselves. Secondly, those who produce goods on wages or on contract. And finally, those who procure order from dealers, merchants, and marketing organization. They buy the goods from others and from different places and supply the goods to their principal buyers. For the designer and the artisan, it is mostly an art form inherited or learnt as an apprentice from a master craftsman. Many generations of some of the families have been traditionally involved with this craft and continue to excel even today. Although it takes years of practice and hard work to master the art. Seasoning of wood is one of the single most important factors in maintaining the quality of wood used.
The logs is cut into the planks, and then that the planks goes to the seasoning plant for seasoning. Seasoning is the best way for the maintaining the quality of the product. So after the seasoning is done, then this goes to for making the item. First of all, the artisan, they start doing the stenciling work. After stenciling, the wood is cut into pieces as per the required item, and then this the planing work is done on that wood for making the carving on that item, and thereafter the carving work is done, and after carving the assembling and the carpentry work is done on the that item, and thereafter the item is that item goes to the finishing and then this polishing, and after polishing, then this item is totally ready. And this craft is particularly is a very peculiar one, because the sesame wood is only available in this area, and this only sesame is used in this craft.
A variety of machines and tools are used in crafting these beautiful products. The trolley machine, the bandsaw machine, the drill machine, the turner machine, the iron machine, the die machine, the buffing machine, flat saw or jolly machine, and the finishing machine. Various tools like nohan and takai are used for carving and engraving work. this industry is a potential foreign exchange earner. It also has the capacity to employ thousands of people. However, it can flourish only if proper capital and infrastructural inputs are channelized and proper governmental support is forthcoming. It is only through proper care of the artisan and his requirements that the craft can survive.
भारत तेजी से विकास के पथ पर आगे बढ़ रहा है। यह आज अपने इतिहास के महत्वपूर्ण मोड़ पर खड़ा है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के सक्षम नेतृत्व में भारत पिछले एक दशक में नए अवतार के रूप में दुनिया के सामने आया है। आज भारत हर क्षेत्र नए कीर्तिमान स्थापित कर रहा है। खेल में पदक हो या फिर चांद तक की पहुंच हो, 200 करोड़ से अधिक का कोविड टीकाकरण हो या छोटी अवधि में गरीबों के 40 करोड़ बैंक खाते खोलना हो, जलवायु लक्ष्य हो या फिर डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, शिक्षा हो या स्वास्थ्य, आत्मनिर्भर भारत हो या वंदे भारत की रफ्तार या फिर पूरी दुनिया को चौंकाने वाले नवनिर्माण, डिजिटल इंडिया, स्टार्टअप इंडिया युवा भारत की ताकत को दर्शा रहे हैं। आज भारत दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम बनकर उभरा है। G20 ने भारत की वैश्विक प्रतिष्ठा को नई ऊंचाइयों पर पहुंचाया है। निवेशकों का फेवरेट डेस्टिनेशन आज भारत है। भारत अब हाथ बांधकर पीछे खड़ा नहीं रहता है, बल्कि सबसे आगे बढ़कर पूरी दुनिया का नेतृत्व करता है। यह आज दुनिया की 5वीं सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था है और 2027 तक तीसरी सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था होगी। लेकिन ये यात्रा जारी है, क्योंकि हमारा लक्ष्य है विराट, हमारा लक्ष्य है विकसित भारत।
ये भारत के इतिहास का वो कालखंड है जब देश एक क्वांटम जंप लगाने जा रहा है। हमारे इर्द गिर्द ही ऐसे अनेक देशों के उदाहरण हैं जिन्होंने एक तय समय में ऐसा ही क्वांटम जंप लेकर खुद को विकसित बना लिया। इसलिए ही मैं कहता हूं, भारत के लिए भी यही समय है, सही समय है। हमें प्रगति के जिस रोड मैप पर चलना है, वो सिर्फ सरकार तय नहीं करेगी, उसे देश तय करेगा। देश के हर नागरिक का इनपुट उसमें होगा, सक्रिय भागीदारी इसमें होगी।
विकसित भारत का विराट लक्ष्य जन भागीदारी के मंत्र से ही सिद्ध होगा। भारत को 2047 तक विकसित भारत बनाने के लिए मिशन मोड में बहुत बड़ा काम करने की जरूरत है। इसमें हम सभी का महत्वपूर्ण रोल है। इस कार्य में माय भारत मेरा युवा भारत युवाओं को उनकी क्षमताओं को सुधारने का एक मंच प्रदान कर रहा है और उन्हें राष्ट्र निर्माण में सक्रिय भूमिका निभाने का मौका दे रहा है। भारत 29 वर्ष की औसत आयु के साथ सबसे युवा देशों में से एक है। भारत के युवाओं पर पूरी दुनिया की नजर है। युवा शक्ति एजेंट ऑफ चेंज भी है और बेनिफिशियरीज ऑफ चेंज भी। यही युवा इन 25 सालों में भारत का भविष्य तय करने वाले हैं, नया समाज बनाने वाले हैं। इसी क्रम में प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में भारत सरकार ने वॉइस ऑफ यूथ कैंपेन शुरू किया है। यह एक महाअभियान है युवाओं को विकसित भारत के इस महत्वाकांक्षी लक्ष्य के साथ जोड़ने का, भारत की प्रगति का रोड मैप तैयार करने का। इसका हिस्सा बनने के लिए www.viksit-bharat2047mygov.in पोर्टल पर जाना है। वहां विकसित भारत एट 2047 सेक्शन पर 5 अलग अलग थीम मिलेंगे। एम्पावर्ड इंडियंस, थ्राइविंग इन सस्टेनेबल इकोनॉमी, इनोवेशन साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, गुड गवर्नेंस एंड सिक्योरिटी और इंडिया इन द वर्ल्ड। इनमें से किसी एक या एक से अधिक थीम पर आप अपने सुझाव दे सकते हैं और बता सकते हैं कि आपके अनुसार विभिन्न पहलुओं में 2047 तक विकसित भारत कैसा होगा, आपका विकसित भारत में क्या रोल होगा। तो फिर देर किस बात की, आइए देश के भविष्य को लिखने वाले इस महाअभियान का हिस्सा बनते हैं और अपने अमूल्य सुझावों से विकसित भारत के विजन को देते हैं आकार।
Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on Indian ethos in management, and in today's lecture of mine I am going to tell you about Indian ethics and the spirit of development. This is going to be part 3 of our lectures on the same topic, where we had already discussed about the basics of Indian ethics and the spirit of development. And in today's lecture of mine I will be telling you about the 5 core ideas of Indian ethos, that what are those 5 core pillars on which this Indian ethos, the entire idea or discourse of Indian ethos is based. And we basically call it as the Panch Siddhantas, or the 5 principles which are basically acting as the leading principle, the guiding principle for Indian ethos in management. And I'll also be telling you about the Indian model of corporate development, the way it works, and the way we actually adopt, or we can adopt it into our typical corporate setup as on date as well. And you'll be surprised to note that those age-long guiding principles are still so relevant. You'll be surprised to note that they are still so relevant that they are offering us the wonderful solution to the typical problems of present day corporate entities. So with this as the agenda of my today's lecture, I'll be telling you about the 5 core ideas of Indian ethos. Let us first have a look at what are those 5 core ideas of Indian ethos. And the first one is unity in diversity, because we all know that India is a country of diversity, and within that diversity the beauty of unity is always present, and we actually honor the diversity. We are the only country where the diversity is being honored, even the dissent, the voice of dissent is always respected. So we believe into the unity in diversity. The second one is integrative synthesis, wherein we talk about the synthesizing the things, and we basically conjoin the knowledge, conjoin the principles, conjoin the different ideas, because we don't believe in differentiating one idea with that of another. We always try to conjoin the best of ideas, and that is why we call it as integrative synthesis. The synthesis which is integrative in nature, and it integrates in order to solve the problems of present day corporate entities. The third one is confluencism, fourth one is world as family, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and the last one is humans as spiritual being. So these are the 5 core ideas of Indian ethos, my dear learners, and they are basically known as the Panch Siddhantas of Indian ethos. And in the previous lecture of mine, I told briefly about their relevance from different perspectives, starting from individual to social, corporate, and then at national and global level. So it is not only relevant at the level of an individual or at the level of the social groups, but it is also relevant at the level of corporate entities and even the national level and global perspective. So if I'll be telling you about the application level, the basic principles and their application level by telling you about their relevance at different levels of application and the way they are being perceived, while the way they are being perceived and the way they are being implemented at different levels of applications. So let us first start with the first Siddhant, which is known as the first principle, which is known as unity in diversity. And when I say unity in diversity for individual, if I consider an employee as an individual and want to know the application of this very principle of unity in diversity at the level of individual, I would say that for an individual it will create a tolerant mindset. So that individual, if a person is believing in this very principle of unity in diversity, it means you are going to accept the diversity with open arms. So you are not going to negate that. There is no resistance at all to that diversity which is coming in front of us. So it is creating a tolerant mindset of an individual. So as an individual, I am working in a company and I got a diversified idea. I have to deal with the diversified customers. I have to customize the product according to the requirement of the people who are actually coming from different backgrounds, from different caste, creed, religion, and for them I have to customize a product. So it is giving me an opportunity to create a tolerant mindset. I can have a tolerant mindset if I believe in this very principle of unity in diversity. So we stay united. For instance, if I talk about India, despite having this kind of classification of a person belonging to different states, we all have one thing in common which actually unites us. That is at overall level, we say that we all are Indians. So we are basically we all are Bharatiya. We have that basic principle in our mind that is something which is making us feel united, and we have that sense of affinity, sense of belongingness, that we belong to the same nation, and that is very much prevalent, that is very much relevant, that becomes very much relevant when we visit any foreign country, and there if we find anybody from our country, we feel that close affinity with the person. So unity in diversity at the level of an individual, it is creating a tolerant mindset. Now moving ahead to the social level, if I ask about the application of this basic principle of unity in diversity at the level of society, I would say it is going to promote pluralism. So we are promoting we are actually negating singularity, and we are promoting pluralism. So pluralism, or what you call as giving honor to the diversified people, that is something which my society is going to learn from this very principle. So as a society, if I ask about the social application at social level, it is promoting pluralism. Then third one is at the level of corporate, at the level of company, or as on date it would be appropriate to call it multinational companies. It helps in managing their day-to-day affairs, day-to-day activities. And what is more relevant and important is the application of this principle at global level, or at the level of a particular nation. So it is basically going to integrate diversity in a way which is having emotional relevance. So emotional integration of diversity, you are getting connected, you are integrating that diversity by your emotions. So I am going to actually honor the diversity, and I am able to find that I am able to see that unity in the diversity, and there is an emotional integration of diversity, and not only at the level of a nation but also at global level. So my dear learners, this was an instance of one principle out of these 5 principles which we call as Panch Siddhantas of Indian ethos. The first one is unity in diversity, and we have understood that what is the way it is being applied at individual level, at social level, at the level of corporate entities, and also at national and global level. So getting aligned with this way of discussing the 5 principles, I have discussed the first principle. I am going to tell you about the second principle, which talks about the integrative synthesis. And let us first have a look at the application of it at national level or global level, which says that Ano Bhadra Kritavo Yantu Vishwatah, which means let noble thoughts come to us from all dimensions. So best of the ideas we are always there to welcome. We are the nation which is known for honoring the talent, and we don't mind the best of the ideas coming from any person, any country, any religion, any region. We are there to honor the good ideas, the best ideas, and that is why we say let noble thought come to us from all dimensions. So we don't feel that we are we are going to honor only those ideas which belong to our country. Even best of the ideas can come from foreign country as well. We are there to adopt it, we are there to implement it. So at national or global level, this integrative synthesis is basically coming from the ancient shloka of Ano Bhadra Kritavo Yantu Vishwatah, which says that let noble thought come to us from all dimensions. If I look at the application of this very principle at the level of a corporate entity, we find that it is basically going to have integrative indigenization directions. So it is going to have integrative indigenization. So you are going to use it as per your requirement. We are going to integrate that entire idea at the level of corporate entity, and we have integrative indigenization, which means customization we are talking about at the level of corporate entity, at the level of a company, which is of course a multinational company as on date. And if I talk about the application of this very principle at the level of society, it is basically providing a basis for integrating different viewpoints. And integrating different viewpoints, they require a base, they require a common point, the common minimum platform where people can have a level playing field and they can have a discussion on this. We cannot integrate 2 ideas unless we find a basis for integrating them. So it is something which is very important, and here comes the role of integrative synthesis, which talks about implementing it at the level of society by offering a strong basis for integrating different viewpoints, and we are honoring those different viewpoints. And if I look at the individual level, we find that it develops an integrative mindset. Of course, in the first one we are creating a tolerant mindset, and here we are developing a mindset which is integrative in nature. You can integrate your ideas with that of your counterpart, even with your competitors. You don't mind integrating, because that synthesis is going to make positive outcome, to bring positive outcome out of your entire discourse. So this integrative synthesis is one of the most important principles or siddhants of Indian ethos, and without integration we cannot excel in corporate field. Because when if I take example of marketing, even in marketing, what we call as modern marketing concept, wherein we have to basically customize the product as per the target market, as per their requirements, what you call as customer needs, and for that we have an integrative marketing system. The via, the tool, the way out to reach to that goal of having delighted customers, having satisfied customers by by basically satisfying their needs is basically the integrated marketing. So without integration, even in the field of marketing, you cannot survive. And my dear learners, be it any field, if you don't believe in integration, positive integration, you cannot ensure the success easily. The success is going to be, the path of success is going to be very tough for you if you don't believe into integration. So there has to be an integrative system. And as I told you, as I gave example of modern marketing, where we talk about integrated marketing, what it does, it actually integrates the customer's requirement with that of production department. If production department is not aware of what my customer need, what kind of product they are going to produce? So the marketing communication is very much required. Whatever my customer wants, that information lies with salespeople, the sales force, those who are selling the product, those who are in direct contact with the customers. And unless they are passing on that information to the production department, how would production department know that this is what my customer need, or this is the change what my customer has demanded for? So for that, what is the strategy? The strategy is integrating all departments with each other, because it is the sales department which is going to tell the requirement to the production department, and production department will accordingly instruct, will accordingly ensure or collect the resources, the inputs for producing the right products in right quantity at right time. So I gave you an example of integrated marketing, just to make you understand what exactly is the role of integrative synthesis at the level of corporate entities. And the same is the role at different levels, because it is we who are actually at times as an individual, we are the one who are actually interacting with in society. We are the one who are working in corporate entities. We are the one who actually form the nation. So if this particular principle is relevant at the level of individual, it is bound to stay relevant, it is bound to remain relevant at global level, at national level, at the level of corporate entity, and also at social level. So this was the second principle, the second siddhantas of Indian ethos, where we talk about the Pancha Siddhantas. So the second one was integrative synthesis. The third one is confluencism. If we look at confluencism, it is basically at the level of individual. It talks about, if I look at its application, work in the direction of convergence of ideas, where we are not supposed to adopt the idea as it is. In Indian scenario, I would like to give you a very relevant example from the field of accounting, because since this topic belongs to a corporate entity, the entire business entity, so we cannot confine it to either marketing or HR or IT or IB or finance. So the first example I gave from the field of marketing. Now the second one I am going to give you from the field of finance. We are talking about work in the direction of convergence of ideas. There is a very relevant example for it, that is IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard, which we are supposed to follow, because as a signatory to this entire idea of implementing IFRS, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has implemented, in consultation with, under the guidance of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, we have implemented IFRS in India. But my dear learners, we have not adopted IFRS as it is. We have actually converged with the IFRS, and we call it Ind AS. What is the need of converging with that? Because according to the requirement of Indian scenario, we have made certain changes into those international financial reporting standards, which are given, which are prescribed globally. So we have not adopted, rather we have converged with those ideas, with those principles of IFRS, and that is why we call that there is no adoption, it is basically a convergence. And that is the best example of this confluencism if we look at the field of, if we talk about the field of finance as a subject, where in accounting we have implemented this IFRS. So we have to work in the direction of convergence of ideas. I gave you an example of the implementation of IFRS in Indian scenario, in Indian accounting framework, where we have not adopted it, we have converged with that. If I look at the social level, it basically talks about convergence approach to social issues. Whatever social problem we are witnessing, whatever situations we are we are actually bearing with in a given society, we have to have convergence approach to social issues. So we have to actually find a customized solution to the problems, because for local problems we'll have to have local solutions. If we have some domestic problem that requires some domestic solution, we cannot have a solution of local problem with that of global solutions. So if the problem is originating at local level, the solution also lies there only. So at social level we have to have convergence approach to social issues, and at corporate entity, at the level of corporate entity, I would say oneness with the corporate goals through what you call as confluence teams. So we can have a confluence teams where we have oneness with corporate goals, that the goal of corporate entity must be the goal of an individual who is working in that corporate entity, because we should have that common point where we feel that whatever is the goal of organization, that is actually the goal of mine as well. And once we stay connected with it, we are going to have success for sure. Here I would like to give you an example of basically a theory which is very much popular in the field of human resource management, where when we teach the motivation theories, there is a theory after X and Y. There was a theory given by Ulrich Regnecker and William Ochi in the name of Z theory, what you call as Z theory, which says that you have to have that oneness with the corporate goals. It should be the same, that my objective for working in a corporate entity is the same. I want to have a good salary, I want to have a handsome salary, handsome pay package, with the goal of achieving by achieving the goals of corporate entity. My company should emerge as a number one company, should emerge as a top performer, because unless my company performs, how would company be able to offer me the premium pay package or the good pay package? So this is something which is emanating or originating from the theory of confluenceism. And if we talk the application of it at national and global level, we find that we have to integrate different viewpoints towards national and global perspectives. So different viewpoints are there, and we have to integrate them towards national and global perspective. That is the application of this principle of confluenceism. So this was the third principle out of 5 basic principles of Indian ethos, and its application at different level. The next one is considering the entire world as a family. And here I would like to quote that shloka of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, where the entire world is considered as a kutumb, as a family. If we take the Hindi word or Sanskrit word of kutumb, it means we talk about the family. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the entire world is considered as a family, and the implementation of it, at application of it at a national or global level, is that nation is to be considered as a family, and the members of and we should act as a members of the entire world family. So nation is basically all members of nation are considered to be part of a family, which is one nation. And if we take the entire world as a family, all nations are basically the members of that family. And if we have that feel, there would be a complete full stop towards the wars which we have witnessed in the recent past. There would not be any repetition of any kind of war if we follow this very principle, this powerful principle of considering the entire world as a family, to which we call as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Imagine how relevant it is in today's time, when there is without taking name of any country, I would like to indicate towards the recent war between the two countries, where the war was not ending, it was not stopping, and it has caused many lives. And those heart-rendering visuals which are coming in front of us, and they are basically making us feel so bad, so pity about the plight of those poor children's. And those videos are basically causing tears in our eyes. So imagine if the entire world could have followed this concept of considering the entire world as a family, that is called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, then there would not have been any repetition of such kind of wars. If the same condition is, if the same principle is applied at the level of corporate, I am telling you, there would not be any clash of objective, there will not be any pressure among the employees. So organization is supposed to be considered as a microcosm of world as a family. So when I'm considering my entire company as a family, of course I would behave like a family member where the welfare of each and everyone is my ultimate goal. If I talk about this at the implication of it at social level and at the level of individual, we are having the familyhood concept at the social level, and expansion of one's consciousness to include each one's circle of the relationship would become the individual application, the application of this principle at the individual level. Now moving ahead to the last principle out of 5 principles, that is Pancha Siddhantas, the last one is humans are spiritual beings, which actually looks at holistic approach to who am I, identifying my own self. And at the corporate level, it is going to have the spirituality at workplace, and if we look at the application of it at national level, it is going to recognize the spiritual development as an important aspect of development. So this spirituality is going to develop oneness and empathy, and it is going to liberate spiritual from the ritual only. So with this, my dear learners, I have explained to you what are those 5 principles of Indian ethos. I hope you must have understood and enjoyed today's lecture of mine. Thank you so much.
भारत तेजी से विकास के पथ पर आगे बढ़ रहा है। यह आज अपने इतिहास के महत्वपूर्ण मोड़ पर खड़ा है। भारत तेजी से विकास के पथ पर आगे बढ़ रहा है। यह आज अपने इतिहास के महत्वपूर्ण मोड़ पर खड़ा है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के सक्षम नेतृत्व में भारत पिछले 1 दशक में नए अवतार के रूप में दुनिया के सामने आया है। आज भारत हर क्षेत्र नए कीर्तिमान स्थापित कर रहा है। खेल में पदक हो या फिर चांद तक की पहुंच हो, 200 करोड़ से अधिक का कोविड टीकाकरण हो या छोटी अवधि में गरीबों के 40 करोड़ बैंक खाते खोलना हो, जलवायु लक्ष्य हो या फिर डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, शिक्षा हो या स्वास्थ्य, आत्मनिर्भर भारत हो या वंदे भारत की रफ्तार, या फिर पूरी दुनिया को चौंकाने वाले नवनिर्माण। डिजिटल इंडिया, स्टार्टअप इंडिया युवा भारत की ताकत को दर्शा रहे हैं। आज भारत दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम बनकर उभरा है। G20 ने भारत की वैश्विक प्रतिष्ठा को नई ऊंचाइयों पर पहुंचाया है। निवेशकों का फेवरेट डेस्टिनेशन आज भारत है। भारत अब हाथ बांधकर पीछे खड़ा नहीं रहता है, बल्कि सबसे आगे बढ़कर पूरी दुनिया का नेतृत्व करता है। यह आज दुनिया की 5वीं सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था है और 2027 तक तीसरी सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था होगी। लेकिन ये यात्रा जारी है, क्योंकि हमारा लक्ष्य है विराट, हमारा लक्ष्य है विकसित भारत।
ये भारत के इतिहास का वो कालखंड है जब देश एक क्वांटम जंप लगाने जा रहा है। हमारे इर्द गिर्द ही ऐसे अनेक देशों के उदाहरण हैं जिन्होंने एक तय समय में ऐसा ही क्वांटम जंप लेकर खुद को विकसित बना लिया। इसलिए ही मैं कहता हूं, भारत के लिए भी यही समय है, सही समय है। हमें प्रगति के जिस रोड मैप पर चलना है, वो सिर्फ सरकार तय नहीं करेगी, उसे देश तय करेगा। देश के हर नागरिक का इनपुट उसमें होगा। सक्रिय भागीदारी इसमें होगी।
विकसित भारत का विराट लक्ष्य जन भागीदारी के मंत्र से ही सिद्ध होगा। भारत को 2047 तक विकसित भारत बनाने के लिए मिशन मोड में बहुत बड़ा काम करने की जरूरत है। इसमें हम सभी का महत्वपूर्ण रोल है। इस कार्य में माय भारत मेरा युवा भारत युवाओं को उनकी क्षमताओं को सुधारने का एक मंच प्रदान कर रहा है और उन्हें राष्ट्र निर्माण में सक्रिय भूमिका निभाने का मौका दे रहा है। भारत 29 वर्ष की औसत आयु के साथ सबसे युवा देशों में से एक है। भारत के युवाओं पर पूरी दुनिया की नजर है। युवा शक्ति एजेंट ऑफ चेंज भी है और बेनिफिशियरीज ऑफ चेंज भी। यही युवा इन 25 सालों में भारत का भविष्य तय करने वाले हैं, नया समाज बनाने वाले हैं। इसी क्रम में प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में भारत सरकार ने वॉइस ऑफ यूथ कैंपेन शुरू किया है। यह एक महाअभियान है युवाओं को विकसित भारत के इस महत्वाकांक्षी लक्ष्य के साथ जोड़ने का, भारत की प्रगति का रोड मैप तैयार करने का। इसका हिस्सा बनने के लिए www.viksit-bharat2047mygov.in पोर्टल पर जाना है। वहां विकसित भारत एट 2047 सेक्शन पर 5 अलग अलग थीम मिलेंगे। एम्पावर्ड इंडियंस, थ्राइविंग इन सस्टेनेबल इकोनॉमी, इनोवेशन साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, गुड गवर्नेंस एंड सिक्योरिटी और इंडिया इन द वर्ल्ड। इनमें से किसी एक या एक से अधिक थीम पर आप अपने सुझाव दे सकते हैं और बता सकते हैं कि आपके अनुसार विभिन्न पहलुओं में 2047 तक विकसित भारत कैसा होगा, आपका विकसित भारत में क्या रोल होगा। तो फिर देर किस बात की, आइए देश के भविष्य को लिखने वाले इस महाअभियान का हिस्सा बनते हैं और अपने अमूल्य सुझावों से विकसित भारत के विजन को देते हैं आकार।
Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on Indian ethos in management, and we are going to talk about Indian model of corporate development in today's lecture of mine. And in the previous lecture of mine, I told you about the Panch Siddhantas of Indian ethos, where we talked about these 5 principles and their application at different levels, ranging from individual to social, corporate, and then at national and global level. So, continuing our discussion on the same topic, I'll tell you about the Indian model of corporate development, where we talk about the human welfare, or what you call as Lok Sangrah. We don't believe into the individual's welfare or the welfare of one person. We believe into the welfare of the entire humanity, and we talk about the human welfare, or Lok Sangrah, which is actually the basic identification or the basic trait of Indian model of corporate development, where we talk about Lok Sangrah, we talk about human welfare. We do talk about unattached action, or what you call as Nishkam Karma. We believe into that theory which says that we should keep on doing our duty, we should keep on putting our efforts. The result is all in the hands of Almighty. We believe into do thy your duty, result thy no concern. So it is basically the second most important trait of the Indian model of corporate development, which talks about the unattached action, or what you call as Nishkam Karma. The third one is making profit by ethical ways and means, and that is being reflected in the principle of Shubh Labh in Indian scriptures, which says that the profit should be earned by the way of ethical means, or ethical ways and means. So profit has to be ethical, profit has to be made by ethical means, by ethical sources, by ethical ways. And the next one is self-development or divinity in human beings. We talk about the development of self, or we identify divinity in human beings. We consider the work as worship. We have to take our work, whatever work we are into, whether we are working into a corporate entity or we are working in any of the spheres of life or any field, we should consider our work as worship. And we already had discussed about the concept of family or kutum, and we have to essentially avoid extremes. We should not be an extremist. In our scripture, we always say that ati sarvatra varjate. which means that extremes are always to be avoided. We should not become an extremist. We should always try to find a midway, the mid path. So I'll be telling you in this lecture of mine what exactly is the trait, what exactly is the characteristic of Indian model of corporate development in little detail, so that you can have a better understanding of what exactly is the Indian model of corporate development. So if we take up the ideas which constitute the foundation of corporate development in Indian scenario, they are basically regarded as different pillars. So I'll be telling you about those pillars because they are basically holding the entire building of this Indian model, what you call as Indian model of corporate development. And you'll be surprised to note, my dear learners, that they are not only applicable for business entities, they are applicable for all human beings, they are applicable for all individuals. So whichever type of organization you are working, whatever is your business or services, or whether you are into social services or you are into working in a not-for-profit organization, in all types of organization, regardless of their motive, regardless of their format, these principles are regarded as the golden principles, and they are applicable in all fields without any discrimination. So let us take up the first pillar, which is known as Lok Kalyan or human welfare. We consider it as the human welfare, where individual and corporate actions should be driven by this philosophy and the concept of social welfare. And as on date, when you find this very concept of corporate social responsibility, it is nothing but the concept of the spread of this concept of Lok Kalyan, or what you call as human welfare, because there we talk about the welfare of the entire society, and society means me and you, society means we, society means each and every individual who is living in this society, in this nation. So the first pillar is talking about Lok Kalyan or human welfare. Even the Western thinkers, they have adopted, they have considered this entire idea of Lok Kalyan or human welfare to be the sustainable one. They do understand that without it we cannot sustain as a corporate entity. And here the philosophy behind this is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukh Bhag Bhavet, which means we talk about welfare of all, survival of all. We don't believe into the concept of that Darwinism concept that believes only in the survival of the fittest, or what you call as survival of the best. We believe into the survival of all. Whatever capacity you have, whether you are good, you are better, or you are best, whether you are fit, you are fitter, or you are fittest, in all situations you are supposed to survive, because you are part and parcel of our society, and we consider this society, if we believe in Indian philosophy, we consider the society as our family. So just like in our family, we have all the members, and all members may not earn the same amount, but the respect to all members are equal, and survival of all is a responsibility of each and every member of that family. Likewise, in society also we believe into Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. We are the only nation who believes, which believes into the welfare of all. We pray for everyone to be happy. We don't pray that I should be happy, I should be free of any disease. We are praying that Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya. We pray for others also. Rather, we pray for all, because we believe into the welfare of all, survival of all. So the beauty of this entire philosophy actually puts a complete full stop over clashes. When there is no conflict, when there is no clash, the stress is supposed to be out of your office. The stress is supposed to be out of your business. So it has to be contrasted with the social Darwinism, which believes only in survival of the fittest. We believe in Indian scriptures, if we follow the Indian model of corporate development, we believe into the survival of all, and not only survival, but we believe into the welfare of all. So this is what is regarded as the first pillar of Indian model of corporate management. The second one is where we talk about unattached action, that whatever actions we are performing, whatever acts we are performing, we are simply working for the good. We don't expect any result. we don't expect, we don't try to know that what would be the result. Rather, we should feel that we have to, we simply believe in that theory that do thy your duty, result thy no concern. So we talk about karmanyeva adhikarasti ma phalesu kadachana, and from there it is coming this second pillar of nishkam karma, where detached action without longing for the immediate results is the essence of this very concept, where we don't have any attachment to the actions. We have to act selflessly without any attachment, and detached action is something which is going to be regarded as the nishkam karma or unattached action. And if we look at the modern leadership literature, it is coming close to this idea as a fundamental quality of leaders, that leaders are supposed to behave like this only. They should not have any attachment to their actions. The action need to be unattached. So we talk about the nishkam karma as second pillar, where we have to simply perform our duty. Result is not our concern. And this is something which is very much there into our Indian scripture. This shloka is coming from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna is preaching Arjuna and telling that karmanyeva adhikarasti ma phalesu kadachana, you should do your duty and don't be concerned for the results at all. This feeling is actually making us feel more contented, more happy, more satisfied. The third one is pillar number 3, where we consider our work as worship. The ideal concept of work ethic is inherent in the well-known Indian phrase, which is always repeatedly said, that work is worship. And if we translate it in Hindi, we call it karma hi puja hai, which means whatever worship you wish to do, your work is basically your worship. So the attitude in performing your own task should be in the form of worship, which actually expects us to be very honest into our behavior in whatever business we are into, whatever duties we are assigned with. If I am shouldered with the responsibility of, say, teaching, I should perform my task in the form of worship. I should take it. I should consider this task to be the most important one, and I should take care of this entire responsibility in a responsible manner. And that is only possible when we follow this third principle, which is known as work as worship, considering the work as worship. And when work is treated as worship, it leads to excellence in your performance, and manifestation of this entire idea of work as worship can be seen in many fields of if I take example of literature, if I take example of art and craft, there we find most people, they ascribe their achievements to their attitude towards work in the form of work as worship. If you ask a very good artist about his or her own art, that from where you got this idea, they always dedicate that idea to the Almighty, and they say that I only consider my work as worship. So it is simply coming out of my routine activities, and it is the Almighty who has actually blessed us with this kind of idea. Specifically, if you have a look at the artists who are working in the field of music, they always assign their role, whatever merit, whatever quality they have in terms of their singing, they always owe it to the Almighty, and they say that it has come to us by the way of practice, what they call as riyaz. So they are considering the entire work as worship. So specifically in the field of art and literature, it is very much prominent, but also it is spreading, it is expanding its wings in the field of corporate entities as well. The fourth pillar is finding divinity in human beings, which actually talks about that it is going to drive your self-development. If I have to quote Swami Vivekananda, I would take this quote from his ideas. Every soul is potentially divine. That is basically, it is the essence of self-development. So every soul is potentially divine means that we all have that divinity inside us. Now it is up to us to honor and to identify the role of that divinity, whether that divinity is used positively or not. And that is the point where we start honoring each other, because we believe that every soul is potentially divine. So we all are having that divine soul inside us, which is supposed to guide us for doing the good. And that is the essence of self-development. Moving ahead to pillar number 5 of Indian ethics, which is Indian ethos in management, which says that that we have to make profit by ethical ways and means. We talk about Shubh Labh, we talk about ethical profits, where we indicate that we should earn, we should have dharma driven artha, which is basically the ideal parameter or radar for the proper conduct of business. So we should not have profit by any unethical ways or means. Ways and means, we should try to have dharma driven artha, where that in and here the dharma stands for the ethical ways, the ethical routes to earn that money, to earn that profit. So suppose I am working in a pharmaceutical, I am working as a pharmaceutical company, and I am supposed to produce medicines, to manufacture medicines. So I should consider my work as worship, and while making profit I should not compromise. Just to make profit I should not compromise with the quality of those medicines which I am producing, cause it may cause loss of life, loss of human being, because we believe that divinity is, every soul is divine. So that also is being integrated here, and profit should always be earned by ethical ways and means. And wealth generation through ethical means or dharma driven artha has been the ideal principle for conduct of business as far as Indian scenario is concerned. Next pillar is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that I have already explained to you, that entire world is considered as a family, and this idea of Kutumb is actually very unique one, and it belongs to India only, because or now we can call that it belongs to Bharat only, because each family member has a say in decision making, and they have a role to play which changes according to the situation and requirement. And when you consider the organization as a family, the joys and sorrows are shared equally. And members are part of the corporate community, so their happiness, their sad moments, they are supposed to be shared equally, because you are considering all employees to be part of your family, because business entity itself is considered as family. The next one is avoidance of extremes, which is equally important, and which is very much important as on date, and it is also popularly known as Buddha's middle path, because it implies balancing extreme solutions. We should avoid extremes. We should not be an extremist in terms of our behavior when I am doing my business or whatever role I am assigned with. So Indian models, they seek to evolve new ways rather than being carried away by the only way approaches to problems of humanity. We are never carried away by this idea, this approach, that this is the only way to solve the problem, because we believe that in order to solve the problem we should try to find a midway where it is always a win-win situation. Nobody is hurt while we achieving our own goal. Everyone should feel happy, feel good, and that is the essence of Indian model of management, where we avoid becoming an extremist. So these identified 7 ideas which I have put in front of you, they basically form the core values of the Indian thought. So my dear learners, if somebody is asking you what are those core 7 ideas which form the Indian thought, these are the one to be named. These identified 7 ideas, they basically form the core values of the Indian thought, and if we combine them together as elements of a conceptual framework, we are basically going to have a wonderful Indian model for corporate management and also the development. When we talk about the corporate entities, we are not only supposed to manage those entities, but we have to develop them. In due course of time, the development need to be visible, and that is only possible when we have a strong framework like this Indian model, where we are combining these core 7 ideas, or basically the core values of Indian thought, because they are the one who are going to make this entire framework very strong. And to these 7 ideas, I need to acknowledge the article or the book published by Subhash Sharma in his article titled Indian Ethics and the Spirit of Development, the Veda Model of Leadership and Management, and it was published in Management Perception, July-December 2001 issue, and it is cited in his book called New Mantras in Corporate Corridors, published by New Age International Publishers. So this is the acknowledgement to this entire discourse of the 7 core principles of Indian model of management, which I wanted to acknowledge here. Now moving ahead, I would be telling you about the another foundation of Indian management, which is known as YVK Foundation of Indian Management, from the same author, where the author has identified the yoga, Vedanta and kosha theories, and they have given an acronym of YVK Foundation. And where the udyog industry is considered as yoga, we also will talk about KPCL model, that is knowledge, power, capital and labor, and eventually will end up this Indian model of the core values of Indian model of management by discussing about management as joy of living. So let us talk about YVK foundations of Indian management, which is another aspect, another dimension to Indian model of corporate management. Now this YVK basically represent 3 eastern doors which can provide future foundations for new age corporate entities. So this YVK is basically an acronym which is representing 3 eastern doors, where Y stands for yoga, V stands for Vedanta and K stands for kosha theories. We already had a discussion on Panch Koshas, and that we are going to discuss in this very foundation, where YVK is regarded as a foundation for Indian management. So these theories, they have actually universal application as well as universal appeal. They are not only having universal applications, but they do have universal appeal, and that is something which makes them more acceptable. Increasingly they are being accepted by the organizations. As we all know that International Day of Yoga is now something which is being celebrated, because we all understand the relevance of yoga, the significance of yoga in our mind and body management. So if we talk about this YVK foundation, I would say during the recent past, considerable work has been done by most of the Indian scholars working in this field, and they have actually opened these doors to the world of management. So it is no more a new word, a new term for the people who are working in the field of business and management. And the pioneering initiatives have already been taken by Professor S.K. Chakrabarty, Dr. Athreya and many others. The list is exhaustive, and they have actually been widely acknowledged as foundation for opening new vistas in the field of management. And these contributions rooted in what you call as Vedico scientific worldview, and they are pointed towards the managerial relevance of this YVK foundation. So we are going to look these contributions which are rooted in Vedico scientific worldview. That is something which is going to be the point of looking at this perspective, that is supposed to become the point of from this point of view we are going to have a look at YVK foundation. So let us talk about each of these alphabets from this acronym of YVK. I am telling you about first one, that is yoga. Y stands for yoga. If we consider the Indian word for industry, that is called as udyog, and that contains the word yoga. This is only to give as an indication that the way this term actually got its origin. So this udyoga can be, or industry can indeed be considered as new yoga, and this yoga theory of management is basically suggesting us that there should be harmony and balance between between various factors of creation. So whatever factors you have for creating something, for producing something, there has to be a balance between all those factors of creation. There should not be any clash. So we talk about the harmony among all the resources, among all the factors which we are going to use for production. So this is basically the relevance of the first term called yoga. The second one is KPCL model. I would bring it in between. KPCL model. K stands for knowledge, P stands for power, that is leadership and managerial capacity, C stands for capital, and L stands for labor. So this KPCL model of organization is basically rooted in harmony and harmonization of 4 factors of creation, and that is why I barged into this another model while discussing YVK foundation. I told you about this I started telling you about this KPCL model, because this model of business organization is rooted in harmony and harmonization of those 4 factors of creations, which is represented by KPCL, that is knowledge, power, capital and labor, and it represents the yoga theory of management. And that is why when we discuss why out of YVK model, discussing KPCL model becomes imperative. So it is very much necessary. If we look at stress management, managing stress, which is one of the most important word nowadays in the corridors of business and management. If we create a word cloud for the problems to be handled by a business entity, stress management is a word which actually finds prominence in that word cloud, and it has been an important concern for all the corporate entities. And as a result, because of this increasing problem of stress, managing stress, yoga has actually acquired popularity as a stress management technique, because along with increasing trend of cases or situations of managing stress, we need yoga to manage that, and it has acquired popularity as a most important and powerful technique of managing stress. And the transcendental meditation, what you call as TM, it has entered the textbooks of management as a tool for stress management. So this TM and yoga, they are basically finding huge prominence because of the emerging situation of stress, because we have to manage with the stress at times, and yoga theory can provide us a new foundational premise for this new corporate model, wherein there is a balancing between profit, people and purpose, because we have to balance between the three, that is profit, people and purpose. And if you ask me, my learners, I would say that the concept of Udyoga as a yoga, it actually captures the essence of India's management philosophy in one simple phrase. So it has actually captured this entire Indian management philosophy in one simple phrase. So after understanding yoga, the second one is Vedanta, or what you call as Vedanta, towards Vedanta in practice. And in Vedanta in management, it has been gaining significance because of Vedantic model of human being as a divine, being taken as far beyond Maslow's conceptualization of human being in terms of hierarchy of needs, where Maslow talked about different levels of needs, and Maslow actually put a lot of stress on identification of the level of need which is prominence, and you satisfy that and the person will start working. Whereas if we look at Swami Vivekananda's concept of practical Vedanta, it is also finding its application in the field of management of institutions and organization. When you have to manage an organization, you have to manage an institution, you have to follow this very concept of practical Vedanta, and the concept of management by consciousness is also gaining acceptance in contrast to the management of objectives, or what you call as management by walking around, which actually represents a teleological approach and ignore the deontological and virtue ethics approaches. So my dear learners, while discussing about this YVK model, I told you about the Y and V, and the rest of the topics I'll be discussing with you in the next lecture of mine. I hope you must have understood this very Indian idea of management, the Indian model of management, with these principles, values, foundations which we have discussed in today's lecture of mine. With this, I am ending today's lecture. Thank you so much.
Hello friends, in the series which we are doing on history of India from 1700 to 1950, today we will talk about social religious reform movements in the 19th century. As we know that during this particular period, some of the social religious reform leaders, they played an important role in terms of talking about certain ideas with regard to the Indian society, where they wanted to reform certain existing evils in the society. For that matter, some of them which were related to women was that sati was being practiced in certain areas, or widow remarriage was not allowed, or child marriages which were happening. And apart from that, one of the concerns was polygamy with regard to women. And in the context of the caste, we find that there was a lot of discrimination. So some of the social religious reform movement leaders, they presented their ideas in a way that how reforms could be brought about in the society. And for that matter, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, they played an important role in the 19th century with regard to the reforms. And historians also, they have tried to understand this phenomena within a particular framework of impact response scheme, for that matter, because as some of the scholars, they argued that social religious reform movements, they were initiated in response to the British policies. So in the course of our discussion, we will try to in a way understand and assess these social reform movements and the kind of impact they were able to create on the masses, and the kind of reforms as well as the laws which were being brought to tackle them. In the context of readings, one can refer Kenneth W. Jones' Social Religious Reform Movements in British India, B.L. Grover's A New Look at Modern Indian History, Shekhar Bandyopadhyay's From Palasi to Partition, History of Modern India, Amiya P. Sen edited Social and Religious Reform, The Hindus of British India, NCERT Negru source material. So all these one can refer when one is talking about the idea of reform. And it is also, when you talk about the social religious reform movements, we also find that how there are connections between the religious beliefs and the social practices. And when one is talking in framework of India, we find that the religious reformation was a necessary prerequisite for the social change as well. And we find that during this time, caste system and emancipation of women, these were the two major areas in which reforms they were being talked about. And as we are also aware that was also the period when India was under the colonial rule. And when India was under the colonial rule, then we find that some kind of a struggle was also there with regard to the issues of culture. And we find that national consciousness was another important concern of that particular period. And when you talk about the cultural ideological struggle, then reform movements, they were trying to invoke some kind of national consciousness. And it was because of the fact as well that how the movement was able to bring about initial intellectual and the cultural break, which made a new vision of the future possible. And secondly, it was part of a resistance against the colonial cultural and ideological hegemony as well. So we find that some of the British officials, they were also instrumental in terms of bringing about legislation for this. And we find that one of them who was influenced by the utilitarian philosophy and who was also instrumental in abolishing sati and the child infanticide through legislation was Lord Banting. And we also see that he retained in a way faith in the Indian traditions and cited the ancient Hindu texts as scriptural logic in the abolition of sati. So in that sense, people like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, they also cited the Hindu texts as well, that how Hindu texts, they were not in any way talking about sati. And the first references of sati in India, they are only found in the 6th century AD. So we do not find that any references with regard to sati, they were there in the ancient times at all. And that was 6th century is the first reference, and it was not also very popular in that sense or widespread in all the regions of India. but the way it existed and the kind of evil it was being considered then, we find that the social religious reform movement leaders, they definitely played an important role in terms of making people aware about such kind of inhuman customs. And when we talk about reformers, we find that Raja Ram Mohan Roy was against Sati, and he started various other organizations like Atmiya Sabha in 1814, Brahma Samaj in 1828, and prohibition on idolatry and sacrifice, which is he talked about, and his concept of deity, the eternal, unsearchable and immutable being, who is the author and preserver of the universe. So we find that Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who was well versed in various languages, who knew English, Persian, Bengali, Hebrew and so many others, and at the same time he had that rational bent of mind where he could realize that some of the customs which had crept in the society, especially during the medieval ages as well, so how these customs they have to be done away with. And he realized that when people they will be made aware about the irrelevance of such kind of customs, then only we will be able to eradicate them. We also find that when one is talking about the various kinds of movements which were launched in the 19th century with regard to the social religious reforms, we find that Kenneth Jones talks about the social religious dissent produced two types of movement, transitional and acculturative. And transitional movements, they had origins in the pre-colonial world, and they arose from the indigenous forms of social religious dissent with little or no influence from colonial milieu. And it also had the absence of anglicized individuals among its leaders and the lack of concern with adjusting its concepts and programs to the colonial world. So we find that how transitional movements basically were in a way located in the pre-colonial times, and they were also in a way, we find that the people, those who were associated with these movements, anglicized individuals, they were there, they were not there in the transitional movements, and they were also not in a way more concerned in that sense to adjust their concepts, their programs to the colonial period. And on the other hand, we find that there were other movements like acculturative, which originated with the colonial milieu and led by the individuals who were products of cultural interaction, for example Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and they were seeking an accommodation to the fact of the British supremacy to the colonial milieu that such supremacy had created, and to the personal position of its members within the colonial world as well. So at the point of origin, we find that these movements they had the kind of differences which we find, and we find that acculturative movements, they were in a way result of the cultural interaction which was happening at that point of time. When we talk about the various kinds of movements which were launched at that point of time, especially the Brahmo Samaj, which was an acculturative movement, and how it reinterpreted Hinduism during that particular period, and how the Western organizational forms of a voluntary religious association with congregational meetings, society offices, printed literature, bank account, all of them we find that it could be found in the Brahmo Samaj. And Brahmo Samaj definitely made some kind of a leeway in the society, where we find that so many people from different sections of the society, they joined Brahmo Samaj. And later we find that some kind of a tension between Devendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen over Tagore's decision to allow those conducting services to wear sacred thread could be found. And Sen organized the Brahmo Samaj of India after that, and Tagore group called itself Adi Brahmo Samaj. So in that framework we find that there was some kind of a division within the Samaj. And later again we find that when Keshav Chandra Sen announced the marriage of his daughter to Maharaja of Cooch Behar, which violated the Brahmo Marriage Act of 1872 because of her age, and proposed the use of idolatrous rituals, then again it led to some kind of a split, and this led to the founding of the Sadharan Brahmo Samaj. So we find that how the people, those who were associated with the Brahmo Samaj, and the people those who were in a way concerned with the practices of Brahmo Samaj, they were also evolving, and at the same time when such kind of evolution did not meet the aspirations of the Samaj, then we find that there were splits in the Samaj, and because of which new kinds of organizations which were directly in a way concerned with Samaj, Brahma Samaj, but at the same time having different kinds of ideas, they also emerged. We also see during this particular period that some of the thinkers or the people, those who have also been witness to the revolt of 1857, like Sayyid Ahmad Khan, he believed that the English society's discipline, order, efficiency and high levels of education along with science and technology must be adopted by the Muslim community. And Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College in 1875, which later became the Aligarh Muslim University for Education, was also established by him, and he was also against the parda of women. So we find that some people, they talked about the education of the Muslim community, and Sayyid Ahmad Khan in a way organized one college for the Muslim community, which later became a university as well. And some of the rational ideas which he possessed were in the context of parda of women, which he rejected. Apart from that, we also see that some of the thinkers of this time, for example Swami Dayanand, who talked about go back to Vedas and who talked about the infallibility of Vedas, and he initiated Arya Samaj in 1875. We find that he also initiated the Shuddhi movement to purify and readmit Hindus who had converted to Islam or Christianity. So in that sense, we find that the leaders, those who were associated with the various kinds of movements, and Arya Samaj definitely made a lot of impact in different regions of India. And Dayanand, for that matter, again was a rationalist in that sense that he was not in favor of any idol worship. He was also rejecting the child marriages which were happening in the society, or any kind of elaborate rituals. He did not favor them, and he was also in a way not talking about the Brahmin priests. So in that sense, Dayanand was talking about the kind of changes which have to come in the society. And at the same time, we also see that when one is talking about the Shuddhi movement, where the people, those who had the Hindus, those who had already converted to Islam or Christianity, they could in a way come back to the fold of Hinduism. So he launched movement with regard to that as well. And apart from that, in terms of education, we find that the kind of divisions which were there within the Samaj, where one was the Gurukul wing, which stressed the religious nature of the Samaj and stressed on the strict vegetarianism. On the other hand, we had the college party. It saw Dayanand as a great reformer, but not as a divinely inspired rishi, and saw vegetarianism as an issue of personal choice. So we find that different kinds of ideas, they were there or persisted within the ranks of Samaj as well, and their opinions in that sense, the people, those who were believing, for example, Dayanand as a divinity, and there were others like college party, those who just saw him as a reformer. And even on the issue of vegetarianism, we find that college party believed that it was a matter of personal choice. We also see that apart from the movements which we have already discussed, there were several others as well. For example, Tariq-e-Muhammadiyya, Sayyid Ahmad Khan Barelvi or Abdul Aziz, and they talked about the removal of erroneous innovations, all elements of polytheism and idolatry which were there, and they attempted to re-establish the Islamic supremacy through war, and thus to elevate the entire Muslim community. And they also talk within the framework of jihad against the British as well. So we find that these kinds of movements, they were talking within the framework of jihad, that how some kind of a religious war should be launched against the British, and they in a way wanted to create some kind of a Islamic supremacy through war, and they were talking about Darul Islam instead of Darul Harb, which was being there when the British had come. So initially we find that these kinds of ideas which were there in some of the movements which were launched. Apart from that, we also see another transitional movement, Swami Narayan Sampradaya,